Okay, welcome to Intelligence Lesson 3. In this lesson, the purpose of this lesson is to get data from Flight Simulator 10 into your program, and it will be delivered in 3 parts. In part 1, we will discuss the prerequisites, the software that you will be requiring, and the understanding and knowledge that you will. In part 1, we will be discussing the software that will be required and the assumed knowledge that will be required to continue with the lesson. In part 2, we will implement an example that will be provided to us in the software development kit, and in part 3 we will explain the example that is provided to us in the software development kit. So let's get on with part 1. The things you will need are Flight Simulator 10 Deluxe Edition. This is because only the Deluxe Edition ships with the software development kit. It is conceivably possible to develop the code for Flight Simulator 10 using SimConnect without the Deluxe Edition and the software development kit. However, I recommend you to save yourself the time and get the Deluxe Edition. You will need Microsoft Visual Studio C#. This is free, by the way, as in free beer. You don't have to pay a cent for it. We will be using C# rather than Visual Basic in these tutorials. I may cover Visual Basic later, but no promises. Now this is a big one. You will need some previous experience with C# or enough programming experience that you'll be able to pick up what we're discussing on the fly. You will also need to have the software development kit installed correctly. This is a common gotcha. Many people have the incorrect version of the software development kit installed and their SimConnect client programs don't work. So where can we get all this? Okay. So Microsoft Flight Simulator 10 is no longer being produced. Unfortunately, Microsoft retrenched the team that produced it. So we don't know if there's going to be a version 11 coming out soon, but here's hoping. Now that the global financial crisis seems to be coming to an end. However, you can purchase it at various online stores. My favourite one is www.flightsimstore.com, and the prices are quite reasonable here. Alternatively, you can probably purchase it at your local video games retail store. It's often found in bargain bins nowadays, as it's been about 4 years since it was released. Once again, it's usually pretty reasonably priced. We will need Visual Studio 2010, the Express Edition. You can use the Professional Edition, but obviously you have to purchase this. And if you haven't done any programming before, you really don't want to be paying for anything unless you absolutely have to, and you'll know when you have to. And we'll be using C#, and that can be downloaded at www.microsoft.com/express/downloads with a capital D. So that's where you can download C# Express, but it doesn't necessarily tell you how to use it. So we mentioned that you'll need some programming experience. I reckon this site here I'm showing you, www.learnvisualstudio.net, is probably the most professional site on the net when it comes to tutorials on how to learn programming languages. A lot of people try to produce their own, hell, I'm trying to do it now, and post them up on YouTube, which is free. However, this truly is worth paying for. Unfortunately, you do have to purchase membership to have access to it, but it's well and truly worth it.
Hi, and thanks for visiting LearnVisualStudio.net. This website contains over 500 video screen cam tutorials covering a wide range of .NET topic matter. We have videos for those who are just getting started, as well as those who are professional developers that are trying to stay on top of all the latest technologies. Each video can be downloaded to your computer and viewed there, and some of the videos last just a few minutes. Other videos last almost an entire hour, but most of the videos are about 10 to 15 minutes long. So since we strongly believe that most people learn better by watching over someone's shoulder than just reading a book or an article, we figured it made a lot of sense to show you what you get whenever you become a member of LearnVisualStudio.net instead of just forcing you to read about it.
Okay, so that's just the introduction video that they have, and I'm not going to breach copyright and continue to view that for you guys, but I recommend you go and have a look. And finally, the SDK, having the correct SDK installed, that's a big one. It's a common gotcha, like I mentioned, and the place that details this most correctly is www.fsdeveloper.com, and they've got a wiki, which I recommend you go to, and they have the SDK installation as a specific topic within their wiki. I'm not going to go through it too much now. Suffice to say, it's there, read it, and make sure that you have the correct version installed and that it's functioning. Okay, so that's prerequisites. I'll just close that and I'll cut this bit out. So assuming that you have everything installed correctly, you should have C# 2010 Express, and you should have the SDK, Flight Simulator 10 SDK. Now, its default directory should be C, Program Files, Microsoft Games, Microsoft Flight Simulator X SDK, and there should be two folders in this, Gmax and SDK, and we want to look at SDK. Now, in the SDK folder, there will be a compiled HTML help file. This will contain all the documents that are required. This will document all the features and expose all the code required to create any SimConnect third-party applications, or to do many other things that you can do with the software development kit. There will also be a plain HTML file in this folder, and within each of the subfolders, Core Utilities Kit, Environment Kit, Mission Creation Kit, and Sim Object Creation Kit, will also be HTML files, and they link to each other accordingly. There's a key important reason why we will be using the HTML files rather than the compiled HTML files, and that is, if you follow them around, for example, we're going to be looking at SimConnect, and we're going to be looking at programming SimConnect clients using C# and managed code. If we go down to the managed, see the code in the managed data request sample, and we can click on any one of these here, it actually gives us the code in the sample here. This is not part of the HTML, the compiled HTML files. This is example code which is located directly in the SDK folder. You can locate the project folders within the development kit. They're under Core Utilities, SimConnect SDK, and then Samples. You can see here, for example, Managed Visual Basic Data Request. So that's where all the samples are, and we'll be using those in the next lesson. One last thing before we progress. In the lib folder and managed folder, there should be a file, a DLL file, microsoft.flightsimulator.simconnect.dll. You will need to know where this is when you produce any third-party application that uses the managed SimConnect layer. That sounded a bit complicated, but suffice to say, you need to know where this is. You need to know this path, and you need to know how to get to it so that you can create SimConnect client applications. Okay, so that's pretty much all there is for this tutorial, and we'll pick you up again at part 2. I'll see you there.